Many of us are very familiar with the story of King Saul in the Bible, how he started very humble. I remember when he was going to be appointed as king, he even hid. And even when he was finally appointed, there are some people that didn't even congratulate him, and he wasn't offended. How did the same King Saul become a human hunter, hunting for the life of David, and a murderer and somebody afflicted with evil spirits? Well, one would think that probably these are being in Saul and these were his tendencies, and power actually brought this out. Many times you can't know people except you give them money or you give them power. Many times the real person shows up when these things are in people's lives. Well, that could be true. But for me, one of the striking things in Saul's story to me is the fact that Saul's downfall and the downfall of Saul's kingdom began with people, began with what would people think, began with taking an action based on people's reaction. If you look at the book of 1 Samuel chapter 13, you will see that story where Israel was in danger and they were supposed to wait somewhere. Saul and his men, they were supposed to wait somewhere for Prophet Samuel to come and offer a sacrifice. And he told them, I'll be there in 7 days. After 7 days, he didn't show up, and people already began to depart from Saul. When Saul saw that people were already departing, he forced himself to do that sacrifice. And just as he was ending the sacrifice, the prophet showed up. And when the prophet asked him, he said it was because people were departing, and he forced himself. That was very striking to me. It was at that point that Samuel told him that now, for what you did, the kingdom has been taken away from you. That was the beginning of when the kingdom was given to David, even though David didn't ascend immediately. When I think about it, I realize that this plays out in our day as well. There are many of us that make decisions. We do things because of what people would say, what people would think, or because of people's reactions. Before I go on, I'm Shirani and I'm so delighted to have you stop by my channel today. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the support you give to my channel. Thank you for watching my content from time to time. I'm grateful. For those who are new on my channel, I would like you to subscribe to my channel. Every content on my channel would bless you, would edify you, and would inspire you. So do well to subscribe and also turn on the notification button so that you'll get to know every time I drop a new content. For everyone watching this video right now, please do me a favor of liking this video before you go on. Thank you so much. Like I was saying, many of us do things because of people. People are the first or the main consideration for the things that we do, and it is not right. Let me read us a scripture in Proverbs 29 verse 25. It says, the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe. When you think about the fear of man, you will think it's just a trembling at man or being afraid of what man would do to you. It's beyond that. Being conscious of what people will think is the fear of man. Making decisions just to belong to a sect of people or to be accepted by people is fear of man. Bowing to peer pressure is fear of man. There are many manifestations of the fear of man, but we don't see it as fear of man. But Bible says that the fear of man would bring a snare, and truly it brings a snare. There are many people in prison today because of the fear of man, because of what people will think, because of what people will say. People have made decisions that landed them in jail, ended their lives or ended their destiny just because of people. And the truth is that ideally, the first consideration for everything we want to do or we don't want to do should be God, not man. If you choose to do something this way or not do it that way, the first thing you are thinking about is God. Is God pleased? Not is man pleased? Does God approve this? Not does man approve this? Does God accept this? Not does man accept this? But sadly, man is the reason we do what many things we do. Man is the first consideration. Man is the main consideration. When you hear what people say, the first thing they are thinking about is, what would people say? How would people think? How would people perceive me if I do it this way and that way? But looking at scripture, you would see that if truly you want to please God, then many times you would displease men. If truly you want to live in obedience to God and do what God says, many times men would hate you, men would attack you, men would castigate you. Look at the life of Jesus, for example. Jesus was a good man and he lived to please the Father. But even at that, he was hated. He was hated because he associated with God, because he called himself the Son of God, because he did what the Father sent him. So as you go about life doing what the Father has sent you, people would hate you, and it shouldn't shock you because they did it to Jesus. Imagine that Jesus was actually conscious of what people would say or what people would think, and he just wanted to be accepted, and he just wanted to be politically correct, like we always want to be in our own generation. We don't want to say things or do things that would scare people, that would aggravate them, that would make them point fingers at us. And in our bid to do that, we displease God. If Jesus had done that, he would not have fulfilled his assignment. But Jesus knew that it was not about man, it was about God. It was how to please God, not man. There was a statement I saw in a book that my dad got for us while we were growing up. I can't remember the book right now, nor the author, but that statement stuck and stayed with me. The statement in the book is that only two people never change their mind: fools because they won't, dead men because they can't. So if you are not a fool and if you are not dead, you should be able to change your mind about things. I can tell you today that I love pancakes. Pancakes are the best thing that has happened to me. I can never do without pancakes. I have nothing against pancakes. I would never have anything against pancakes. And I'm campaigning about pancakes, promoting pancakes, pushing pancakes and all of that. If tomorrow I don't like pancake anymore, the natural thing is that I would not want to say it, because I'll feel that, I've told people I love pancakes and pancakes are the best thing that will happen to me. What would they think if I suddenly say I don't like pancakes anymore? But truly, as it should be, I'm not a dead man and I'm not a fool. So if tomorrow I wake up and I don't like pancakes again, I should be able to say, okay, I know I promoted pancakes and this and that, but I don't like it anymore, because I'm a human being and I'm wise. I'm alive, so I can change my mind. But it's so difficult for many of us to change our minds. That's one of the reasons as well that people cannot live difficult situations. They can't live a difficult job because of what people would think. They can't live an abusive relationship because of what people would say. And there are many people whose lives have been terminated and destiny has been ended just because of what people would say and what people would think. I remember as a single lady, there was this pressure when your friends are getting married and they are selling ashwebi. If you're not Nigerian, ashwebi is like a uniform that the bride or a family chooses for the people that are attending their events to wear. If you can't afford the ashwebi, you feel left out because you can't. There are people that borrow money just because my friends would be at the wedding. I would be at the wedding as well. And I would look odd if I don't wear the uniform. And the uniform sometimes is even way beyond their monthly income. But they would borrow just because they want to feel among. There were ashwebis I did not buy as a single lady because they were too expensive for me. And when I was getting married, I had ashwebi too for my friends, but I didn't force anyone. There were friends that told me that, Sharon, I can't afford it, but I still want to come for your wedding. And I'm like, sure, you can come. And there were people that came for my wedding and they just wore the color code. They did not wear the exact material I gave out to friends, because they felt they couldn't afford it at that moment. But their presence meant everything to me, whether or not they wore the uniform. And I actually appreciated their sincerity. And I think that's how life should be. Do not put yourself under any pressure because of people. There are parents that put their children in schools that they cannot afford. It's beyond their income. But they are doing it because of people. Just because their friends' children are there, or just because their siblings' children are there, they want to feel among. It's your life. The only person you should live to please is God. So there are many manifestations of the fear of man. That's why I believe that even as we begin to have children, we should begin to instill in them that do not do anything to please people. Do not do anything because everybody is doing it. The voice of the majority many times is not the voice of God. That everybody is going this way does not mean that's the right way. You should be able to stand alone. You should be able to stand alone. As long as you are standing with God, you are fine. There's this popular saying by my pastor. He would usually say that if you have everything and you don't have God, then you have nothing. And if you lack everything but you have God, then you have more than enough. So God is all you need. God's approval is all you should be seeking after. And one of the driving forces for me not to think of what people will say or to put people as my main consideration or my first consideration is that I came to this world alone. I will leave this world alone. And I'm going to stand before Jesus at the end of my life alone. And even these people that they are the reasons that I want to be doing what I want to be doing, they also will stand before God at the end of their life. The Bible says we all will stand before the judgment throne of Christ. Everybody will give account of how they lived their life. You won't give account of how somebody lived your life. Imagine standing before God and God is telling you, why did you do this? And you're saying, because my neighbor would think, or because my brother said, or why didn't you do that? You say it's because of what people would think. There are many people that are not living in their purpose. because of still what people will think. There are many people that are not living in their glorious destiny just because of people as well. They are afraid to take decisions because they feel this is weird. God is asking them to do things, but they are feeling this is unconventional. How would people think about it? Would people even listen to me? Would people accept me? There are people that when they see God, they will realize that they've wasted their whole lifetime, because by themselves, they reordered their lives. They recreated the life that they felt people would accept, and they didn't live the life that God asked them to live. So your major consideration should be God. Another manifestation of the fear of man, like I've said, peer pressure is a manifestation of the fear of man. What people will think is a manifestation of the fear of man. What people will say is a manifestation of the fear of man. Living to please people and trying to belong to a particular cadre that you don't belong to naturally, but forcing yourself to belong and be accepted is the fear of man. It may not come with trembling, but somewhere it's some kind of fear, a fear of not being accepted, a fear of being looked down on. You may not see it as fear, but that is what it is. But another manifestation of the fear of man that we don't give much attention to is actually thriving on the praises and the applaud of men. If you remember Jesus, the Bible says that despite the good things people said about him, he didn't put his mind on what people said, because he knew what was in the heart of man. Man can change, man can fail, man can die. So if somebody is saying something and they're applauding you and they're singing your praises and you allow it to get into your head, trust me, their criticism would affect you. If the praises of men, if the applause of men can make you feel good, if it is the reason why you do it, if it is your driving force, then trust me, their criticism can pull you down easily. The best way to live is that whether men praise you or criticize you, do not lay it to heart. I was reading one of our Robert's book, and it says that the praise of men is like perfume. You apply it on your body, but you can't swallow it. That's the way it should be. Somebody said it's like chewing gum. When you chew up the sweetness, you throw it away. You don't swallow the chewing gum. So when people begin to praise and applaud you, do not lay it to heart. For me personally, when people praise and applaud me, I return the glory back to God. Not because I have a low self-image or a low self-esteem, but I don't want anything to get into my head. Not the praises of men, not the criticisms of men. If their praise can get your attention, their criticism would get your attention. If their approval gets your attention, their criticism will get your attention. If their approval is the driving force, if the praise of men is the driving force for which you do what you are doing, you would not go far. You would burn out. Because there are people right now that today they will sing your praises and tomorrow they are the ones slandering you. There are people today that they will tell you, oh, you are this, you are that, you've been a blessing and all of that. And tomorrow, they are nowhere to be found. Do you understand me? So do not let people's praises get into your head. I'm not saying that we should not commend people. It's good to commend people. I commend people. Some days ago, I was watching one of my friends' YouTube channel and I just put a very beautiful comment because I love what she was doing. So I do that because sometimes it spurs people on. It makes them know that they are not wasting their time. It's a good feedback. Do you understand? So personally, I feel it's good to commend people. It's very difficult for me to see somebody do something well and I'm not commending them. But what I'm saying that for us, when people are commending us, the reaction should be, do not allow it to get into your head. Trust me, there are people right now that they are doing things that are striking chords in the heart of God. They are doing things that heaven is happy about, but men are not commending them. Men are castigating them. So if they want to use men's reaction for the reason why they would continue, then they would fail God. So if as people we want to use people's praises, people's commendation as a yardstick to do or not to do, we would not please God with our lives. If we want to live to please God, we would displease men. Many times, if you want to be accepted by God, you'll be rejected by men. So when it comes to whatever you want to do with your life and your destiny, whether God has given you an assignment, whether you want to pursue purpose, whether you want to take a decision or the other, whether you are doing something and you don't want to do it any longer, and people have known you with such a thing, or whatever it is, do not be moved. Do not let your driving force, do not let the basis for your decisions be people. Do not let it be people. Let it be God. Let it be God. Think about God first and think about the good of your own life and your destiny. Think about posterity. Think about the legacies that you are building. Do you understand? So it's not about people. Your life is completely for you and for God, basically. I'm filming. Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm not finished though. That was my husband applauding me, but I'm not letting it get into my head. I said that was my husband applauding me, but I'm not letting it get into my head.
Don't let it sink into your head.
I'm saying that we should not allow the praises of men to sink into our head. We should make it like chewing gum, chew it and throw it away. So I'm not letting it sink. But I think yours can pass. Yours can sink.
Through this one as well.
Okay. Thank you. The only time you should consider people when you are taking your decision is that this decision I'm about to take, would it hurt people, maybe physically, emotionally, or in one way or the other? Do you understand? I'm not talking of you doing things. Jesus did things that for some people it hurts them. The way he talked, it hurt them, it offended them. If your decisions are not going to hurt people and they're in line with the will of God, then go on ahead. I realize that we live in a generation where people want to have a stake in your life. They feel they have a stake in your life. Even on social media, they don't even know you from anywhere. People sit behind their keypads and they feel they can tell you what to do with your life, how to live your life and all of that, and they castigate you. If you allow that get into your head, if you allow that affect you, you would not fulfill your destiny. You would not do big things. People that do big things do not pay attention. There's this proverb in Nigeria that says that if you want to pay attention to every dog that barks, maybe you're running a race and you want to pay attention to every dog barking as you are running, then you will never reach the finish line. That's how it should be. As you are running the race, dogs will be barking, people may be throwing stones, people may be saying stuff. Just keep your focus and keep going and keep running. One of the greatest distractions for our destiny is losing focus because of what people will say or what people will think or how people will perceive us. You don't have to do anything to feel accepted or feel among. You have been accepted already in the beloved. You have been accepted by God, and that's the greatest acceptance that you need. If you live with all this mindset, you'll not be affected by people. You have been accepted by God. You have been approved by God. So you don't need people's acceptance. You don't need people's approval. If God has approved you, go on ahead and do what God has placed in your heart to do. Go on ahead and live your life. Go on ahead and do life big. Live your life to please God and for your own comfort in line with the will of God. I believe that this video has blessed you in one way or the other. If it has, I would like you to please share it. Share it in as many places as you can. There's somebody that needs to hear this message. There's somebody it needs to bless. So please do well to share. And also leave your comments in the comment section. You know I love to read your comments. Let me know how this video has blessed you, and if you have contributions, please leave them in the comments. I would read them. And also like this video if you have not yet done so. For those who have still not subscribed, please subscribe to this channel before you go. Thank you so much for your time. Before I go today, I'd like to remind you again, like I would always do, that we are pilgrims and strangers on earth. Like we have considered today, God is the main factor we should think of when we want to live our lives. If you feel that you are living a life that is pleasing to God, I'd like to encourage you to keep going in your walk with the Lord. And if the life you are living right now, you know that it does not please God, you know, if you see God face to face today, He would not be happy with you. I would like you to please give your life to Jesus by praying the prayers that I'll be posting next and mean them from your heart. And I pray that the Lord gives you the grace to walk and to stand in your faith till the end of time. And for every one of us, I pray the Lord gives us the grace to keep running this race, keeping our focus on Him, and that it would help us to see Him face to face at the end of our lives. Thank you so much. Till I see you again in another video. Have a blessed life. Bye.